All right, so it's time I made a video for some of you guys who might be brand new into prepping. And the first thing you're thinking of is, what do I put in my bug out bag? Well, today I'm going to give you 10 of what I feel are my top must-have items that you need in your bug out bag. Are you going to need more than those 10 items? Of course. And maybe you'll come up with some better 10 items too, but we're going to start with mine. So let's get started. All right, folks, welcome back. So I noticed that I have a lot of new preppers. I'm getting emails from people, and I'm getting questions from people who are just getting started. And I know the first thing everybody thinks they want to do, because it's fun and cool to put it together, is build yourself a bug out bag. But there are times and places when you'll need a bug out bag. If you just bug out when anything bad happens, you're probably going to end up dead or a refugee. You don't want to do that. You want to have it for certain reasons. Say, where you have to evacuate quickly. There's a fire next door. There's a gas leak in your neighborhood. A truck spilled something that's, toxic. They come knock on your door at 2 in the morning. You got to be gone for a few days while they clean the mess up. That's where a bug out bag comes in handy. And like we tell you, every disaster isn't some kind of nuclear end of the world disaster. It's about being ready for the small stuff as well as the big stuff. Also, too, during some kind of big scenario, you may need to leave. Your best bet is to not bug out, but you may need to leave. And if you need to leave, your bag better be as complete as possible, yet light enough for you to carry, okay? Sometimes it's just running away. Sometimes you're running to a destination. Remember, it's not how much you pack, but the quality and the importance of the gears on the item that's in your bag. You want quality items, you want it as light and lean as possible, unless, of course, you feel you can carry a ton of stuff. Now, keep in mind, these are my top 10 critical items that I feel should be in any bug out bag. They're not every item that you should put in your bag. They're just top 10 items. So don't get upset in the comment section if I didn't include this or that. Just feel free to add it and let everybody know what you think would be important items in a bug out bag. By this, we can kind of teach new people, maybe help, stir the cobwebs up in our head and go, oh, you know what? I never thought about putting a multi-tool or something like that in there. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get started. So first off, and I have some examples here. You can choose whatever you're comfortable with. A good knife. Probably the most important tool you can own. You need to make shelter. You need to make traps to kill game. Fire starting, cooking, dressing fish or game. You can use it to dig with in a real emergency. There's just so many things you can use a knife for. Now, it can be a folding knife or a fixed blade. It just needs to be a good quality knife. I would recommend, personally, a good fixed blade knife. These are just some examples. This one I really don't even remember where I got. I got it in one of the boxes. But it's a nice kind of Scandi grime knife. I have this guy up here, which is Svivi. Just a nice basic, sort of a bushcrafty type knife. This one here. So a good knife is definitely important. No matter what you're going to be doing, you definitely want a decent knife for all those purposes. All right, let's move on to the second item. A tarp. Okay, tarp can be used for so many things. I would recommend even a cheap blue or brown one you can get at Walmart. That still nylon stuff. It needs to be at least 8 by 10, I would say, and water resistant. Tarps can be used over your shelter if you find out your tent isn't really a 4-season tent. You can hang it over it. It can be used as a ground cloth. It can be used for so many different things. It can even be used as your main shelter if you put it up somewhere. And it can also be used as a makeshift pack to carry your stuff if your pack decides to give out on you. We'll get into packs later, but that's another thing. Next up is going to be cordage, and you'll notice I have cordage on here. Okay, and I have more cordage in that particular bag that I pulled this out of. But cordage could be anything: rope, paracord, fishing line, bank line. Just use some good quality sinew. It can be used for so many different things. Again, rope can have many uses in building shelter, rescue, first aid. Paracord itself has a ton of uses. From binding a shelter together to pulling center strands out for field expedient sutures in an emergency. Paracord also makes a great emergency arm splint or tourniquet. So definitely some kind of cordage. So that's kind of 2 things in one right there. All right, let's move on to the next item. A portable water filter, and that's number 4, okay? This is a super important part of staying alive in an emergency. More than likely, your normal water source is going to be out of commission. You're going to need water to survive. Most lakes and streams aren't even safe to drink anymore, especially in the high mountains where I live, due to cryptosporidium, giardia, and some really bad cases, cholera. So it's best to have a spare filter to change out the one in case you need to. And that's why I have two. A little extra weight, but water is so important, I believe I should have two. I have a couple of Sawyer Minis in my bag here. Okay, I actually have two of them. Some water storage bags, as well as a way to drink it through a straw or filter it through there. I also have this, and I brought this out to show you. This isn't in my bag. This is a ceramic pump. This is good for a lot longer than, say, most filters. You'll connect one thing here, one thing there, and you'll just pump and pump it through. And when you do need to change it, this part comes off and you can change it out. That piece comes right up too. So definitely some kind of water filter. Let's move on to number 5. Now, you saw it in the intro, and I really don't have room to put it up here right now, but a good backpack, okay? Very important part of your bug out bag system. Of course, you really want a backpack that fits you well. It's going to be sturdy. You don't want to get a huge backpack and then fill it with a bunch of unnecessary stuff. It's better to have a smaller, light one and only have the basic essentials in it. Now, the one that I showed you in the intro, if you want to rewind and go back, you can check it out. That's the Outlaw backpack from DEFCON 5. It comes in about 65 liters when expanded. It provides a discreet look, okay? Really kind of calm, laid-back look. Doesn't look like anything tactical or military. You saw it in the open. Features 600E polyester fabric. Very durable. Tons of internal pockets and cinch straps. Does have external cinch straps as well. Loops. All sorts of comfortable adjustments. You can expand your shoulder straps from 8 to 13 inches. It's a 65-liter pack. You do have that fabric inside there that's at really nice internal pockets with all of the straps inside. Really good backpack. I happened to get it in a Crate Club, and I tried it out. Actually, what I did was I was building my bug out bag for my bike, and only because I have a ton of stuff did I do that. It's not that you need one for your bike, although it is kind of handy if your car isn't running to have a bug out bike. And I put it on there, I rode around with it, put some heavy stuff in it just to see how it felt, kind of heavy, and I'll be darned if that thing isn't really comfortable. So get yourself a good backpack. Can't show it here because there's really no room now, but you saw it in the opening, you saw it in the intro. It's a really nice one. It's the Outlaw backpack from DEFCON 5. All right, let's move on to number 6. Number 6 would be a first aid kit. Now, this is where most people fall short. Remember, you're going to use this bag when something goes wrong, so you're more than likely to run into a situation where your first aid kit will come into action. If you need to help an injured person, or you yourself are that injured person, the last thing you want to have in your pack is one of those small little first aid kits they sell for hikers with bandages and a couple of things of Neosporin in it. You want something that's going to take care of the small injuries as well as the really big ones. Tourniquets, things like that, bleed stops. This is a really stiff opening pack here. There we go. All right. Things like gauze. Okay, I have all the My Medic kits in here, the mods. Very, very handy, as well as just regular Band-Aids for smaller injuries. All sorts of stuff. Build yourself a good tactical trauma kit / first aid kit. The bag here is from Rhino Rescue, but there's all sorts of gear inside of it. Build your own pack. You can buy one as a foundation, all right? You can buy like an IFAC off of My Medic or Rhino Rescue. Then add to it what you think you're going to need, as well as the good stuff that's in there. Make sure you have some kind of bleed stop in there. Definitely important. All right, let's move on to number 7. Number 7, a stove and a cook kit. Now, this is my ultra light kit here, okay? You never know when you're going to end up in an emergency. You might find out that all the shelters are full. You might end up bugging out to a remote location. In this case, you're going to need a small but well-built stove to cook your food with, okay? I happen to be using all freeze-dried food in this kit. Again, it will depend on what you're going to be doing. Now, you don't need a ton of food if you're bugging out to a location. If you're bugging out to the unknown, which I don't recommend really, you might need more food in there. But I'm going to be using freeze-dried food in my particular bag. You guys can change it up any way you want. This is a little Bescardo kit. Okay, a little titanium pot. Inside here, and you notice I have this sealed up so it doesn't rattle around, I have this little titanium stand, and I reviewed this. This is the ever-new titanium stove, and this, of course, will, pop in and out. You can put it together, however, like that. Okay, you've got that little burn amplifier or whatever they call it. I forget their name for it. Anyway, it goes flat in there. I kind of got it in crooked. Now, you can use this with, that's why. You can use this with, of course, a nice light titanium alcohol stove, and I do have alcohol in the bag for this. But when the alcohol runs out, I can feed this with wood, and this can be a small twig stove. So it's good to have a dual purpose kind of stove. So if I'm out roaming around for 4 or 5 days and I'm out of, my fuel, I can still feed it with twigs. So definitely get yourself a good stove and cook it. Let's move on to number 8. All right, number 8 is going to be a headlamp. Now, having a source of light is going to be very important in any kind of emergency situation. I used to think headlamps were kind of goofy and stupid, and I didn't like them. And then I used one day in my house, right here, but maybe 10, 15 years ago, on my head during a power outage. And I was like, whoa, I get it now. Your hands are free, okay? You can do other things and have a really good light source on the top of your head. If you find one with a red or green removable filter, it's even better. It's also important to have either a way to recharge or an extra set of batteries for your headlamp in case it runs out of power. This happens to be an older one I bought years ago. It's a Nebo, and I actually use this out here often when I'm cleaning inside my car or working on something. Very, very handy. It also pops off. And you can use it as a regular flashlight, stick it in your shirt, twist that around, stick it in your shirt pocket. So definitely get a headlamp. It's very, very handy. I was not sold on them until the day I used them. And you may think it looks goofy and silly. Then you put it on during a power outage or during an emergency, and the hands are free, and you just have to look. And everywhere you look, there's light. Let's move on to number 9. All right, so I got them kind of scattered over everything. It's kind of taken over my desk. Food. Okay, it's important to have emergency food. You can use MREs if you want. I kind of have gone to using freeze-dried stuff because it's just easier. I really like these Thrive Life entrees. You just put some water in there or boil them, depending on which one you get, and you get enough for 2 people. And you really get enough for 2 people. It's not like something like this that says, oh yeah, enough for 4, and everybody gets like a little portion like that. Mountain House is great if that's all you want to use. I've used Peak Fuel. Okay, chicken coconut curry is a great one. Another one that I reviewed a while back, and I haven't talked to them since, but Swartz Foods, if you can look this up, I'll give you a look at their logo. They make some awesome food, and I have this as a breakfast in my bag, actually. They make some great stuff. But if all you can find is Mountain House, by all means, get it. If you want the Thrive Life stuff, you can check down below. You can go to their meals section. Okay, you go to their meals section, and they will have, they got a ton of these now, tons of different types. Chicken Alfredo, spinach, whatever you want. So definitely check them out as well. All right, let me kind of clean things up for the last item. All right, I kind of have to be careful about this. We all know why. But number 10 would be a weapon of some kind. Okay, it could be anything from a 22 all the way up to whatever you want. Have something. I'm not recommending this particular one. I'm just showing it because it fits on the table very nicely. Have something to defend yourself. People get weird during disasters. That doesn't mean you go out there brandishing it, showing it off, saying, hey, I'm big and bad, look at me. No. What it means is you have something in case things go wrong. Sometimes that would fall to the role of a handgun. Sometimes that might fall the role to a stick, whatever. But have something, have a way to defend yourself in an emergency because stuff gets weird. And we all saw during the LA riots, the looting that took place. You may be caught up right in the middle of it, and you may end up, trying to get looted yourself. Another thing I tell people, try not to look like you got too much. Now, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Me walking around with a backpack on a really tricked out electric bike, I look like I got something, okay? But if I'm walking with that same backpack, and again, it's all about situational awareness. If I'm walking with that same backpack through a neighborhood that's getting looted, and I purposely choose some old ratty clothing, so I just look like a homeless person living out of my backpack, throw some dirt on my backpack, make it look old and dirty, I fit in. The most important thing you can do when bugging out is fit in. If you're doing it by vehicle, that's a different story. Maybe you'll be on the highway, maybe you'll be on off-road. You're probably not going to, if you're going to go off-road, you're not going to be seen. And that's why I think it's important to have a 4x4 vehicle for bugging out. If you know where you're going, if you're going to a destination, it's not as important because you're going to get there. Even if you lose everything, you got a destination that's stocked and ready to go. My biggest point with this is these are 10 important items, but don't think bug out only. Your best bet is to stay right where you are during a disaster, unless that disaster is directly affecting you. If the police, the cop or the firefighter comes to your door at 2 a.m, knocks on it, says, hey man, you got to get out. Next door's got a gas leak, it could blow at any minute. Well, what do? I go, I grab this bag, and I walk out my front door. Now, there's tons of other stuff you can put in there, important papers, you know, and again, too, given the situation, if you're walking out past the police, maybe you don't want to be walking past them with that, you know? So there's tons of different situations, and you have to have this stuff laid out somewhere where you can go, okay, I got to run for a day, you know, because they're going to clear up this gas leak in a day probably. I just need this bag, or, oh, wow, things are really bad. I'm not probably never coming back home. Maybe I'll take this bag and this bag. So you got to have that planned out. But these are 10 items that I feel should be a starter for everybody's bag. Okay, 10 basic items that you should have, they're must-haves in your bug-out bag. Of course, there's tons of other items to have in there, and I'm not telling you not to add them. I'm telling you these are my basics, okay? And you never want to put too much in it because then it's going to be too hard to carry. I would also recommend you practice with your bug-out bags. Put it on your back and walk down the street. And that's why you don't want something that looks too tactical, because you're going to look kind of silly out there with your Molly vest on the back of you and your plate carrier with your 50 tons of gear in your backpack. I knew a guy once to put together a bug-out bag in a bigger JanSport book bag, okay? Who's going to suspect that? You look like you're carrying your kids' books home from school, you know? It was older, it was kind of beat up, but it was sturdy, and he reinforced it on the inside. So it's always good to kind of dress down and look down from things so you don't look like you got something to take if you're on foot or on a bike or even in your vehicle sometimes. So that's the video for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do remember to click subscribe or like or click the bell icon. I get a lot of people telling me, hey, I didn't get your video. I just saw this today. This is a week old. Click the bell icon to be notified. That's not a guarantee. It's not perfect, thanks to YouTube, but at least you'll be notified when I put up a new video. I thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check our links down below. We have our Amazon affiliate store, our freeze-dried wholesalers link. Don't forget, that link saves you 15%. Our My Patriot Supply link. Lots of good deals going on there this month, including a one-year kit with $700 off. And our Thrive Life freeze-dried food store. Thanks for watching, guys. Get your bug-out bags built and get started. Stay safe and stay prepared.